Exclusive contract from Feilu Novel Network Novel. Daming. I am invincible. Li Hanyi enters the palace at night, traveling through Zhu Houzhao and signing for 5 years. My influence has spread throughout the world. In the first year, he signed into the Longhu Mountain sect under one person, surpassing the Cihang Jingzhai, and was known as the Taoist saint. In the second year, sign into Nangong Pushe, invincible before the 18th stop. In the third year, sign in with the Qingniao and Xichang gift packages, and take control of the palace. In the fifth year, I signed into sword armor and was amazed by my sword strike. In the fifth year, Ye Gucheng and Ximen Chuixue discussed the peak of the Purple Forbidden City. Li Hanyi from Xueyue City also intended to enter the imperial palace to watch the battle. Just as Li Hanyi had just entered the palace, she was completely stunned. Sword armor. Nangong Servant. Qingniao. And the almost invincible Zhu Houzhao. What exactly is this palace like? Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. After 1 month, the first chapter will expire in 5 years. I will. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Daming, the Forbidden City. Imperial Palace. The Imperial Garden is located in an attic. Zhu Houzhao lay on the dragon chair, closed his eyes, enjoying the palace maid's massage. From time to time, a cut fruit is delivered into the mouth, feeling indescribably comfortable and comfortable. That's right. Time travel. Zhu Houzhao has been in this world for 5 years. After successfully ascending the throne, he began his life of lying flat. I have been lying down for 2 years now. However, his lying flat is different from others. As a traveler, he has a system. Drop. The January deadline has arrived, the host can sign in again. At this moment, the system's prompt sound came on. Zhu Houzhao also opened his eyes and silently recited in his heart, sign in. Drop. Host check.In successful, check.In reward extraction in progress, please wait. With the start of the check.In system, countless rewards circulated in Zhu Houzhao's eyes, each of which was a precious treasure or a powerful figure. Congratulations to the host, you have obtained the spring and autumn sword armor. Li Chungang, wait, it's actually Li Chungang. Upon hearing this name, Zhu Houzhao's face changed and he was immediately filled with surprise. Spring and autumn sword armor Li Chungang. I never expected it. I actually won this one in this lottery. At this moment, an introduction about Li Chungang appeared in Zhu Houzhao's mind. In the world of snow. When Li Chungang first emerged from the martial arts world, he once wielded his sword in Guanling and crossed the river. He defeated the Plum Blossom Sword sect Wu Wei in the Dongyue Sword Pool. Enter the Wu family sword tomb and defeat the Wu family sword leader, taking away the famous sword, the wooden horse ox. Drive a sword fairy-like woman walking barefoot in the South China Sea back to her sect with 1 finger. Victory spear Immortal King embroidery and provide guidance. Xingxian Yuan de Pan, there is no sword in Western Shu. Enter Shu alone and slay 16 skilled swordsmen who block the way. Go west to Mount Rantua, ask the Buddha with a sword, and kill Arhat 20.3. Finally, it was against Wang Xianji, winning 6 out of 7 battles. In a challenge, he was reluctant to use his sword to open the heavenly gate, and even risked ruining his reputation, allowing Wang Xianji to break off the wooden horse and ox and freely descend the mountain. This is a character like a sword fairy. Very good. Originally lying flat, Zhu Houzhao stood up satisfied and waved his hand to drive away the palace maid beside him. At this moment, in the attic, alone. A golden card appeared in his hand at this moment. This is the reward of the system, which can summon Li Chungang. However, Zhu Houzhao was not in a hurry, but silently opened the system panel in his heart. The next moment, a semi-transparent system panel appeared before his eyes. Name. Zhu Houzhao. Cultivation. The pinnacle of a great master. System. Godao system, age. 18 years old, practice. Dragon Elephant Prajnaparamita skill is perfect, innate skill is perfect, Wang Chongyang version, Vajra Immortal divine skill is full level, sword 23. Under his command. Li Chungang, Qingniao, Nangong Pushe, Chen Jibao, Xichang faction, Yuetian, Su Huairong, 3 major leaders, and 1,000 factory guards, 1 person under the Longhu Mountain sect, including Lao Tianshi and others. Items. 1,000 master cultivation pills, 3,000 innate pills, 1,000 innate enlightenment stones, and 1 blood covenant book. Check-in. 1 month from the next check.In time. Hidden task remaining time. 1 month. Currently known host players. 0. Warning. Anyone who knows that the host's trump card exceeds 50% must be wiped out within 24 hours, otherwise it will be considered a mission failure, with no punishment for failure, but the system will be lost. System introduction. This system is a Godao system, without invincible strength, how to travel the world. First develop, then wave. Hidden task rewards. The system will completely bind the host and surprise gift package. That's right. After traveling to this world, Zhu Houzhao obtained the Godao system. Because of this system. Over the past 5 years, Zhu Houzhao has been on the throne for 2 full years, from the initial crown prince to the current emperor, without any major moves. No one knows his bottom card. People think that he's mediocre and incompetent ruler, and even there are rumors among the people that he is the ruler of the fallen country. And there is also a reason to say so. All because in the current palace, Chao Jingchun, Yu Huatian and others are wielding power without restraint. The Iron Gallbladder God Monkey and Dragon Protection Villa outside the palace have extremely high prestige, and their forces radiate throughout the world. Above the court, there is the Yen Hall, which almost belongs to the Iron Fearless Monkey. Even Zhuge Zhenhua, who is in charge of the 6 gates, can slightly compete with it, but often falls behind most of the time. All of this has led to the already low imperial power, which was originally due to being in the immortal martial world, becoming even more depressed. In this Ming dynasty, at times, imperial power may not even be as effective as the Iron Fearless God Hozhu, ignoring a single sentence. However, all of this is superficial, but the real situation is Zhu Houzhao's attendance for 5 consecutive years has now become extremely powerful. Not to mention anything else, let's just talk about the Dragon and Tiger Mountain. Since its appearance 3 years ago, it has been on par with Wudang and Shaolin. Old Master Tian is powerful, and Dragon and Tiger Mountain is even more intimidating. Even if Zhu ignores it, he will give him some face. If it weren't for Old Master being too easygoing, I'm afraid that the title of the first Taoist in the Ming dynasty wouldn't be that Zhang Sanfeng, but rather Old Master. Fortunately, both the Heavenly Master and Zhang Sanfeng have similar personalities. Therefore, the relationship between Wudang and Longhu Mountain is excellent. No one knows that behind Longhu Mountain is Emperor Zhu Houzhao of the Ming dynasty. But these are just a trump card for Zhu Houzhao. Chen Jibao, now known as the King of Northwest China, dominates the region and is also a member of Zhu Houzhao's people. In the palace, there is also the Western Factory Governor Yu Huatian, who shares half of the imperial palace with Chao Jingchun, and is also one of his followers, Zhu Houzhao. Not to mention that the summoned Li Chungang is also the world's #1 sword armor. In fact, its strength is enough to intimidate the entire Ming dynasty. Of course, the most crucial ones are the 1,000 master pills and 3,000 innate pills. These are all from the system, and once used, there will be a rapid increase of 1,000 masters and 3,000 innate ones. It's enough to gather an elite army. As the saying goes, a system produced must be a masterpiece. Even if it's just mass-produced, the master is the master. Even if this world is a world of immortality in martial arts, there are also powerful masters, land immortals, and land heavenly beings above the masters. Master Ko is already a powerful figure, let alone in such a large number. The great master has a renowned reputation throughout the world, such as Zhu Wuwu and Zhuge Zhenghua. There were even fewer land immortals there. Nowadays, there are probably only a few people in the Ming dynasty who can be called land immortals. For example, Zhang Sanfeng, for example, Dugu's sword demon. There are almost no terrestrial celestial beings. Once Zhu Houzhao fully demonstrates his strength, it is terrifying enough to directly push the entire Ming dynasty world. Just. He is really not in a hurry. The system is a Godao system, but why isn't Zhu Houzhao? When he played strategy games in his past life, he enjoyed crazily accumulating resources and eventually pushing horizontally. Hidden for 5 years. Zhu Houzhao said that another 5 years is also possible. Anyway, what's wrong with being a foolish ruler? Eat, drink, and have fun. Indulge in unrestrained pleasure. How comfortable. The emperor should have an emperor's life. As for anyone who dares to cause trouble, then destroy them. Zhu Houzhao never hesitates to fight. At the moment when Li Chungang checked in, Zhu Houzhao had to some extent possessed the power to intimidate the world. As for now, not urgent. Play with them first. Zhu Houzhao laughed, but in an instant, there was infinite change hidden in his eyes. At this point, Zhu Houzhao directly crushed the golden card in his hand. Summon Li Chungang. For this one, he has been looking forward to it for a long time. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 2. Li Hanyi enters the palace at night, Yi Gucheng. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Just as Zhu Houzhao summoned Li Chungang. At this moment, an unexpected guest has arrived in the Forbidden City. Time has arrived in the afternoon, amidst the hustle and bustle of the capital, how lively it is. The people who come and go, as well as the people in the martial arts world, almost fill the capital. Selling goods, performing arts, and so on, a bustling scene can be seen. Selling steamed buns. Hot and steaming steamed buns, would you like a portion, sir? Tomatoes on sticks. Sweet tomatoes on sticks. 2 when a string. 5 when 2 strings. Xiaobing, baked cake in griddle. Sweet Xiaobing, baked cake in griddle. Wuda Xiaobing, baked cake in griddle, only 3 when. The land of the capital. Under the feet of the emperor. It is indeed bustling. In the midst of the disturbance, a figure appeared wearing a white dress, a hat on his head, and a mask on his face. He walked slowly on the street, looking at the bustling scene around him, and also felt a sense of curiosity in his heart. This person is none other than Li Hanyi, who felt the Forbidden City from Snow Moon City. Looking at various street vendors and delicious food, Li Hanyi's stomach grumbled uncontrollably. How fragrant! Even so, Li Hanyi still made herself resist looking. She came to the capital not to eat. But it has another purpose. Her purpose of coming is to inquire about the sword of the Purple Forbidden Peak. As swordsman, he naturally looks forward to the decisive battle between Ximen Chuixue and Yi Gucheng. Of course, besides watching the duel, she also wants to see the world of Ming dynasty. How big is the mainland of Kyushu? Almost boundless. Among them were powerful imperial dynasties such as the Great Ming, Great Qin, Great Han, Great Song, Mongolian Yuan, and Great Tang. There are also many small countries such as Dali, Lulan, Tubo, Japan, and Goryeo. But what can truly be said to be abundant in martial arts is daiming, especially in the fascinating world of daiming. This includes Mingjiao, Wudong, Longhu Mountain, Power Gang, Sun and Moon Divine Sect, Shaolin, Ame, 5 sacred sword sect, and so on. Everyone is a great master of martial arts in the world, with a glorious past. And in this decisive battle at the top of the Forbidden City, besides the two main characters Ximen Chuixue and Gucheng, Li Hanyi also heard that the Dugu sword demon was coming here. Therefore, Li Hanyi traveled 1,000 miles from the snow moon city of the Tang dynasty, with the main purpose of questioning the sword. Whether it's Gucheng, Ximen Chuixue, or Dugu Jianmo. It's all in her plan. The capital is bustling, but my goal is to watch the battles between Ximen Chuixue and Gucheng, and then seek advice from the strongest. The good things in the capital will only be seen after the decisive battle. Li Hanyi looked at the bustling capital with reluctance, but made up his mind. She decided to enter the palace at night. Then proceed with advance inspection. As a martial artist, this is one of her habits. As for why he did this, it was only because Lu Xiaofeng's tickets were rare. Li Hanyi didn't want to reveal his identity, so he naturally missed out. Since that's the case, why not come by yourself? Li Hanyi's current realm is half-step divine wandering, that is, half-step land immortal, the peak existence of the great master. Such strength. Just the Forbidden City. It can definitely be on the go. Li Hanyi is extremely confident about this. Next, Li Hanyi spent a lot of money to find an inn to stay at. Then it wasn't until nightfall, when it was almost impossible to see anything, that I hurriedly sneaked into the palace. In the palace, Li Hanyi's graceful figure flew past, flowing like clouds in water, and no one could notice it. The profound cultivation is undoubtedly revealed. Walking in the heavily guarded palace, her behavior was extremely calm, even giving off a sense of travel without any nervousness or panic. This stems from her confidence in her own strength. But just as she was about to continue exploring deeper into the palace, she suddenly felt a sharp sword intent. A pair of beautiful eyes suddenly brightened, and she murmured, "There is actually a skilled swordsman in this palace." At this moment, Li Hanyi was completely attracted by the sword intent and couldn't suppress his curiosity. Following the discovery made by the sword intent, he flew over. At this moment, inside the heart-nourishing hall, Zhu Houzhao sat on the dragon chair with a smile on his face. He has summoned Li Chungang. Your Majesty, wait and see, this is my sword intention. Li Chungang held a wooden ox and horse, emitting a heroic and reckless sword spirit, instantly transforming from an old man to a terrifying sword god. The sword's meaning is to release and retract at once. But just that moment of sword intent made Zhu Houzhao feel the strength of Li Chunggang's sword intent, and also feel the things contained in Li Chunggang's sword intent. Heroic. Free-spirited. This is what Li Chunggang's swordsmanship implies, as he himself once said. I am willing to open swordsmanship for all swordsmen in the world. Zhu Houzhao couldn't help but remember that he was in the world of snow. At the border of Yongzhou, a sword immortal kneels and breaks through the 5 elements water armor. Guimen Pass cleaves the river by 200 zhang. On the Spring God Lake, one step overturns the Yellow Dragon Tower ship. Defeated outside Xiangfan City, Wu family sword crown, Wu 6 tripods. In the city of Emperor Wu in the East China Sea, borrow a sword of 19,000, the strongest battle in the world. With one sword, it pierced through more than 2,600 pieces of armor, and with one breath, it traveled thousands and hundreds of miles. In its final moments, Deng Te borrowed his sword from thousands of miles to help it break through the land immortals. Exactly what you said. Heaven does not give birth to me, Li Chungang. Swordsmanship will last forever like a long night. This is Li Chunggang's life. Old sword god, the result is a good sword intention. Seeing Li Chunggang's strength, Zhu Houzhao chuckled lightly. Undoubtedly, the appearance of Li Chungang at this moment gave Zhu Houzhao ample confidence, and his temperament was also greatly appreciated by Zhu Houzhao. Of course, the most important thing is that Li Chungang was the reward drawn by the system. Belonging to the vassal of Zhu Houzhao. His loyalty is 100% and he will never betray. Even if Zhu Houzhao asked him to die, he wouldn't hesitate at all. However, if you want to open up swordsmanship for the world's swordsmen, you need to explore the world's swordsmanship. Zhu Houzhao chuckled and said, and 10 days later, Ye Gucheng and Ximen Chuixue will compete and discuss swordsmanship on my head. At that time, the sword armor can show the charm of swordsmanship in this world. But you. Zhu Houzhao smiled and said, but don't reveal your relationship with me. Your Majesty, rest assured that I know the right balance. Li Chungang also smiled. He was also summoned by the system and naturally knew the limitations. It's just a month's time. It doesn't matter if he arrives, and Li Chungang is not a conspicuous person either. He was just curious about what the feudal lords had said about swordsmanship. As a top swordsman, he is very interested in it. At this moment, Li Chungang was about to ask some questions, but suddenly his eyebrows raised and he said in a deep voice, Your Majesty, a swordsman has arrived in this palace. I don't know if it's Ye Gucheng or Ximen Chuixue. But why is it a female doll when I sense it? Girl doll. Zhu Houzhao was taken aback, but he didn't know who the female swordsman should be. Ye Gucheng and Ximen Chuixue are not women. So, who exactly is it? How dare you enter the palace late at night? This is a great courage. Who is this person? Zhu Houzhao's curiosity also rose, his sword eyebrows slightly raised, and his handsome face showed a curious expression. As an emperor, don't say that his palace seems very rudimentary. In fact, there were the guards under the command of Yuetian, as well as the 2 hidden patrols of Qingniao and Nangong Pushe, making it difficult for even ordinary great masters to enter. It seems that the person who came here is not easy. Your Majesty, I only feel this person's aura, his momentum is very strong, and he is not a weak person. Li Chungang spoke with a relaxed expression. I see. Zhu Houzhao chuckled lightly and directly ordered, okay, then let Yuetian, Nangong Pushe, and Qingniao test her condition and see how much courage this person has to dare to break into my palace. At this moment, Zhu Houzhao still has some expectations. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 3 Crying of Li Hanyi. Surprisingly, this palace is. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The imperial palace of the Ming dynasty is very large, with countless palaces stacked one after another, magnificent and magnificent, truly spectacular. Li Hanyi was flying away, surrounded by many eunuchs and palace maids, but no one could notice. This is Li Hanyi's confidence. Even in her opinion, with the current palace alone, no one can discover herself. After all, she also had an understanding of Daming's situation. The emperor's power has almost been neglected. Both inside and outside, it's the same. Not to mention Zhu Houzhao's reputation outside is also very bad. Naturally, Li Hanyi had no good impression of Zhu Houzhao, the ruler of the Ming dynasty. Now, even if Li Hanyi breaks into the palace, there is no obstacle in her heart. It was precisely in this situation that she became even more indifferent. What about the Daming palace? But what she didn't know was that not long after she infiltrated, she was already detected by the Nangong Servant. As the master of the double-blade embroidery of winter and spring thunder, Nangong Pushe is the most beautiful woman in the world of snow and a rare martial arts talent. Our strength has also reached the peak of the great master. The 18 stops he has mastered are even more of a method for surpassing the level of challenge. 6 stops can kill second level, 9 stops can kill Zhishuan, and 12 stops can kill Tianxiang. 16 stops, the great Vajra of Buddhism also breaks open, and the heavenly and human bodies are like white paper. After 18 stops, there were no land immortals in front of him. The first to strike is Invincible. Now, she is only one step away from the land gods. And once you use 18 stops, you can level up and kill enemies. At this moment, under the bright moonlight, the servants of the southern palace dressed in white like snow, with a fresh and refined temperament, like a fairy descending from the moon palace. Her cheeks were slender, her eyebrows slightly furrowed, her eyes watery, her mouth rosy, and her skin fair as jade, but her gaze turned in one direction. It is exactly where Li Hanyi is located. Now, the Nangong servants occasionally sense the location of that unfamiliar aura. And the position of this target is also constantly moving. But the route Li Hanyi walked was also seen through by her. Without a doubt, Li Hanyi was heading towards Zhu Houzhao's dormitory. Why did you go? Is it for assassination? But even if it's not, Nangong servants cannot tolerate it. Zhu Houzhao's imperial power cannot be infringed upon by anyone. That's why she decided to wait directly in front of Li Hanyi. These people in the martial arts world are really brave. They dare to trespass on important areas of the imperial palace alone, but since you have come, you can't think of leaving. The southern palace servant's beautiful eyes were cold, and the killing intent was raging in his heart. At this moment, a black shadow flashed through the air. After quickly falling down, he transformed into a man with no need on his face, dressed in the attire of the commander of the West Factory. Then he quickly walked up to the southern palace attendant and bowed, saying, "Rain turns the fields, pay respects to the Grand Commander." Did you also notice that person? The Nangong servant nodded slightly, his cold and beautiful eyes fixed on Yuetian. She was quite satisfied with Yuetian's keen perception. "Yes, Commander, I have already dispatched skilled personnel from the West Factory to ambush around." Yuetian spoke very respectfully and nodded. As a system character who was also summoned by Zhu Houzhao, his loyalty to Zhu Houzhao goes without saying much, and he will execute everything 100%. However, ultimately, his strength ranks last among the characters summoned by Zhu Houzhao. Compared to other summoning characters, he is too weak. Don't be fooled by what kind of West Factory supervisor he is in the outside world. He has absolute power and can be called a prominent figure. But he knows his weight. Although Yuetian's cultivation reached the early stage of the Grand Master, it was nothing in front of the servants of Nangong. Therefore, he always reports anything as soon as possible. No need, this person's cultivation is not weak. You and your subordinates are not opponents. Let's withdraw your subordinates. Upon hearing these words, the Nangong servant shook his head. Even based solely on the perception of breath, she could know that the strength of this unwelcome guest should not be underestimated. This kind of person is not something that West Factory can handle. She didn't think that just relying on Yuetian and the people from Xichang could handle it. Now, instead of letting Xichang jump out and die, it's better to leave early. And in the face of this unfamiliar guest, it is most appropriate to act on your own. This is also what the Nangong servants long for. Desire to fight a qualified opponent. It should be noted that although the servants of the southern palace were summoned by Zhu Houzhao, their whole hearts were pinned on Zhu Houzhao. But its own personality has not changed. She is also looking forward to strong opponents. Not to mention, since she came to this world, she hasn't personally taken action for a long time. Yes, Commander. Upon hearing this, Yuetian nodded and waved his hand casually, and the people of Xichang secretly left. He naturally has no doubts about the words of the Nangong servant. Since that's the case, let these people leave. To avoid being too busy and becoming a burden. White Fox, how could you spare me from this fight? Just as the Nangong servant was preparing to take action on his own, a powerful momentum suddenly erupted, followed by a blue figure flying in mid-air. Falling down, transformed into a woman with a cold and proud expression, holding a spear. This person is none other than Qingniao. Both summoned by Zhu Houzhao, Qingniao has not taken action for a long time. As the daughter of the four great masters Gun Immortal King Xiu, her strength is strong and she has reached the peak level of the great masters. Nowadays, outsiders invade the palace, which is a rare opportunity to take action. In addition, the other party's strength is also good, so she naturally won't let it go without reason. Qingniao's face was delicate and cold as ice. As she walked slowly with a long spear in her hand, she spoke to the Nangong servant and said, "Just a stranger, why do you need to take action? This person, I can take him down. I'm enough for one person." The southern palace attendant glanced at the blue bird and shook his head. She is very clear about the strength of Qingniao. The two of them have fought more than once in private, and in her opinion, her own move is the safest. Upon hearing the words, Qingniao didn't answer them, but his wariness boiled in his heart. Is it very strong? Then we should give it a try even more. This is actually to see the condition of this stranger. If her strength is really average, she will not be interested in taking action. On the contrary, the stronger the other party is, the greater the interest of Qingniao. At this moment, Xueyue couldn't help but smile bitterly as he watched the scene of these two competing. Strength. If I were stronger, I wouldn't have to fight for it. And it was when the southern palace servants, blue birds, and rain-turned fields gathered together. A sword light flew along with the white shadow. The terrifying sword is like a rainbow. Li Hanyi, who was walking here, suddenly noticed three unfamiliar smells. Under the mask, Xueyue frowned slightly and knew she was being targeted. The night was bright, and a gentle breeze brushed against Li Hanyi's hat. As the light veil spread, a white mask was revealed. Li Hanyi stepped into the air and fell, his eyes deep, and his aura erupted in vain. For a moment, the sword energy ran rampant, revealing the aura that belonged to the peak level of the great master. At the same time as her arrival, she immediately welcomed the murderous gaze of Nangong servants, Qingniao, and Xueyue. The Nangong servant stood with a sword in his hand, his sword intent raging. The sharp sword light made the world tremble, and the air became incredibly oppressive. Qingniao stood with a gun in his hand, his eyes fixed on Li Hanyi, while his heart was filled with a sense of war. Rain turned Tian's eyes into indifference, and the long sword on his waist shook uncontrollably. It seems that as long as the Nangong servant gives a command, he will immediately take action. Two great masters at their peak. Li Hanyi held a long sword, with a terrifying intent to shake his entire body, but beneath his mask was a look of shock. At this moment, her gaze was also on Qingniao and Nangong Pushe for the first time. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 4. Blue bird shoots, guns shoot like dragons. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At this moment, while both sides were facing off, no one spoke. But the eyes full of killing intent were intertwined, as if just one opportunity was a rock-shattering shock. To be honest, Li Hanyi was very surprised in her heart. Grand Master, is this not valuable? The palace, how could it still have such a rich heritage? To her surprise, there were three great masters in the palace. The originally anticipated ease has now turned into solemnity. The palace has now turned into a dragon pond and tiger den. It should be noted that the Grand Master is not an ordinary person, but he has three statues in front of the palace. In the outside world, a master-level expert is already a deterrent force. The real situation in the imperial palace greatly exceeded Li Hanyi's expectations. The palace, which I thought could enter and exit freely, actually hides such danger. Especially Nangong Pushe and Qingniao, their breath gave Li Hanyi the most dangerous feeling. Especially the two of them had a deep and terrifying aura, seemingly containing terrifying power. Once a move is made, it will unleash a powerful and terrifying force. Even more rare is that both of them are women. This made Li Hanyi feel even more unbelievable. It should be noted that in today's martial arts world, most people are still dominated by men. If a brilliant and gorgeous woman can become a great master, she must be world-renowned. But Li Hanyi has not even heard of these two people, let alone seen them. Their faces were surprisingly unfamiliar. This makes Li Hanyi very curious and puzzled. When did such an outstanding figure emerge in the martial arts world? Even as the Lord of Snow Moon City, I didn't even know. She also became excited in her heart. As a warrior, what Li Hanyi longs for in his heart is to fight against stronger people, so that he can take himself further. The more you fight, the braver you become. This is Li Hanyi's personality. At this moment, her fighting spirit grew stronger in her heart. And at this moment, before Li Hanyi could speak, Qingniao's cold gaze came over, and she could no longer bear it. In his heart, the fighting spirit erupted in vain, and his momentum was like a rainbow. A cold voice sounded, saying, "Breaking into the palace at night is a capital crime." As soon as this word is spoken, the world turns pale with fear, and the terrifying killing intent wreaks havoc. Qingniao took action on the spot, and in an instant, the gun turned into a long dragon, as fast as lightning. Gun shadows were scattered one after another, and his strength rose again, condensing a terrifying evil energy. At this moment, the power belonging to the Grand Master of War was fully displayed. Boom boom boom. Sound boom. Like thunder. The heritage exclusively belonging to the daughter of the Gun King is fully demonstrated at this time. Her movements flow like clouds and water, and each move contains both evil energy and deadly power, coming straight at Li Hanyi. Upon seeing Qingniao, he directly took action, and with one shot, Li Hanyi also felt threatened. She couldn't help but raise her eyebrows slightly and didn't say much. In his hand, the rain sword instantly swung out, with a terrifying sword aura piercing through the air and emitting a deafening sound of explosion. The sword intent emanating from its body is even more terrifying. While its momentum emanates, it is like waves constantly crushing towards the green bird. Bang, bang, bang. Bang, bang, bang. Bang, bang, bang. Gun shadows and sword aura wreaked havoc, and the sound of explosions continued. The surrounding palace buildings were constantly shattered and cut into countless pieces under the terrifying influence of the two. For a moment, smoke and dust rose everywhere. Gun shadows are like dragons. Sword chi thunder. Whether it's Qingniao or Li Hanyi, both of them were at the pinnacle of the great master's realm, and after 3 rounds of confrontation, they ultimately distinguished between high and low. Li Hanyi has a slight advantage. Come again. Losing 1 share, the chill on Qingniao's face grew even stronger, and while drinking low, his body suddenly erupted with even stronger strength. A terrifying aura is rolling and rising from the sky. Qingniao, at this moment, showcases the true charm of a great military master. What a terrifying evil energy. Let the nearby Yuetian also have a big change in his face, unable to resist retreating. He dare not get too close. It's really too dangerous. If accidentally affected, even as great masters, they cannot bear it. Die. Surrounding Qingniao, the aura of evil filled the air, making people feel like they were on a bloody battlefield. However, the terrifying power was once again elevated to a higher level. But even so, it still made the Nangong Servant who was watching frown. This is not because Qingniao is weak and dissatisfied. She knows the strength of Qingniao. The two of them often exchange ideas on a daily basis, and they can no longer be familiar with each other as they have long been familiar with each other. As a great strategist, Qingniao's strength is definitely not weak. However, the true strength of the great strategist is not in on combat with people, but on that battlefield. The great military master, in cooperation with tens of thousands of troops, combines evil energy and unleashes terrifying power. It can be said that God blocks and kills God. Buddha blocking kill Buddha. Now, what truly surprised Nangong Pushe was the strength of Li Hanyi, an uninvited guest, which caught her attention. At the moment when Li Hanyi just made his move, his own heritage and strength were undoubtedly revealed. He turned out to be a quasi-land immortal. Perhaps with just a small opportunity, one can directly become a land god. This is completely different from the peak of the great master. With such strength, it's not surprising that Qingniao is slightly inferior. Not to mention Li Hanyi's sword energy, which is terrifying yet sharp, its innate strength is evident. Okay. What is the purpose of such a person coming to the palace? To assassinate Zhu Houzhao. Humph, there is strength, but being so secretive and revealing is really laughable. The Nangong servant's face was cold, with a hint of mockery. Li Hanyi enters the palace at night. Not only wearing a bamboo hat, but also wearing a mask, one can see its intention. Obviously, there is no peace of mind. Since that's the case, that's the enemy. Of course, the opponent's strength is very good, and their talent is also amazing. But anyone who tries to harm Zhu Houzhao, even to destroy the Ming dynasty, is the enemy of her southern palace servants. At this moment, the Nangong servant truly had a murderous heart. No matter how talented you are, since you have ulterior motives in your heart. So. Just stay. Thinking of this, Nangong Pushe looked at the two people who were fighting. At this time, although Qingniao was still able to fight with Li Hanyi, it was clearly very difficult, and even erupted into the method of military land battles for it. This method is difficult to sustain in a 1.1 situation without the addition of a large army to combat. If we continue to fight, Qingniao will surely fall into the disadvantageous position. With this in mind, she spoke directly to the fighting Qingniao and said, "Qingniao, you're not her opponent. Step back. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 5. Nangong Servant, before the 18 stop, there is no land. You are listening at novel full.audio. Bang, bang, bang. Li Hanyi and Qingniao were engaged in a fierce battle, each move containing terrifying energy. The terrifying fluctuations caused a large amount of debris to fly. Sha-chi, gun shadows are dazzling, and killing intent is rolling like a tide. Sword energy breaks through the air, thunder roars wildly, countless sword energies interweave, even the scattered power is chilling. At this time, the battle between Qingniao became increasingly difficult. She knew that her ability to burst into evil energy in the short term was not long-lasting, and she already had a sense of retreat in her heart. She is indeed belligerent, but she is not a rascal either. I would never do anything to die when my strength is unbeatable. That's foolish. At this moment, the sound of Nangong's servant firing rang out, and although Qingniao's eyebrows furrowed, they were also rapidly retreating, and a shot was suddenly fired. The explosive atmosphere rolls over. The collision between sword energy and gun shadow has unleashed a terrifying force to this day. The air explodes, creating circles of shockwaves that sweep away various scattered building fragments. By the time the smoke and dust weighed 3 pounds, Qingniao had already left the battle circle and appeared again, retreating to the side of Nangong Pushe. Just now, although she was suppressed, she showed her ability to move forward and backward with ease when she fired her last shot. Although Li Hanyi's strength is superior to his own, he is not yet overwhelmed by his realm. Even if in the military, Qingniao is actually stronger than Li Hanyi. As a soldier on land, the essence is to cooperate with the army. If on the battlefield, Qingniao cooperates with the army to fight, even if encountering land immortals, he dares to fight. This is the fundamental difference between people in the martial arts world and those in the military. Although they are all practicing martial arts, the scenarios they deal with are different. Soldiers are better at charging on the battlefield and often have no advantage in cooperating with the army in combat. However, people in the martial arts world focus more on improving their personal strength, striving to improve in all aspects, so that they have no weaknesses. Of course, most people in the martial arts world strengthen their abilities in attack and defense, and each has their own emphasis. The Great Master of Soldiers. After a single blow, Li Hanyi's gaze towards Qingniao was filled with surprise. Just now, what Qingniao did was full of evil energy, and even used it to enhance his strength. Every time he made a move, his power became even stronger due to the evil energy. At first, Li Hanyi thought that Qingniao had used special means to improve. But I didn't expect to go to the military master's area. After all, although Kyushu is like a cloud of great generals, I have never heard of a woman practicing this method. And Qingniao's skillful use of evil energy to praise is actually the most authentic military method of killing and attacking. This also made Li Hanyi more curious about the palace. Qingniao is like this. What will happen to the stunning woman who has never made a move and is only observing the battle? Li Hanyi's gaze turned to the southern palace servant, and his beautiful eyes also felt stunning. It has to be said that the southern palace servants are truly as beautiful as immortals. Dressed in white like snow, with a cold and proud temperament, and skin resembling sheepskin and jade, the slender jade fingers hold a long sword, and the invisible killing aura adds a touch of charm to it. And such a woman's cultivation is even more difficult for herself to see through. I don't know how much her battle is. A perfect combination of beauty and talent. At this moment, the two of them are facing each other. Nangong Pushe also looked at Li Hanyi. Although she couldn't see the appearance of this unexpected guest clearly, she knew that Li Hanyi's strength was extraordinary. At this point, she already has a clear understanding. Li Hanyi and Qingniao had a fierce battle just now, and the strength displayed was strong enough. But whoever dares to break into the palace without permission? I can't even go out today. The Nangong servant's expression became increasingly cold as he thought of this. Under the moonlight, her stunning appearance made heaven and earth seem to fade away, as if she had become a true fairy of the moon. Her jade hand held the long sword, with a terrifying intent to secretly accumulate strength, and her entire demeanor became incredibly cold. Both of them reached the peak of their fighting spirit. The pressure of both sides' momentum, even if it is a slight explosion in the air, causing layers of air waves to roll and roll. Hiss. Seeing this scene, Yuexian beside him was shocked. In the past, although he knew that Qingniao and Nangong Pushe were much stronger than him, he had never witnessed their full force in action. I just realized what a master is when I saw him today. It was difficult for him to take that shot and sword just now. Even if it were myself, fighting against this unwelcome guest Li Hanyi. I'm afraid if I can't hold on for a round, I'll lose. It's not impossible to be killed by him on the spot. And now, the collision of Nangong Pushe and Li Hanyi's momentum has become so terrifying. Unfortunately, it would be great if I could take your Majesty's pill. Yuexian was very envious of their strength, and couldn't help but silently think to himself. When Zhu Houzhao first summoned Rain Huatian out, his strength was actually just the pinnacle of his master. Later, it was precisely because Zhu Houzhao gave the great master Dan that he was able to break through. If such strength is used within the palace, it is basically sufficient. But I truly witnessed the battles between top experts, and facing the feeling of being unable to intervene now, it also made Yuexian feel powerless. But this also strengthens the belief in meritorious service. When necessary, he does not mind using any means and will also leave Li Hanyi for his majesty. And when the rain turns the fields with countless thoughts. The confrontation between Nangong Pushe and Li Hanyi became increasingly intense, with their eyes intertwined with sword and sword intent. Invisible auras rolled and seemed to tear apart everything. While their momentum collided, the two of them looked at each other, their eyes narrowed, but neither of them easily made a move. Whether it's the sword intent of Li Hanyi or the sword intent of Nangong's servants. They all carry special sharpness. Both sides can also sense the terrifying aura on each other. I also understand that the other party is not weak. This is an induction between two people. At this moment, under Li Hanyi's hat, there was a sound coming from the mask. She spoke with a deep tone and a hint of emotion. I never expected that there would be women with such a knife-like intent in this palace. To be honest, she was truly surprised in her heart. Although these 9 provinces are large, they seem boundless, and even various large and small countries combined have hundreds of them, which goes without saying about various forces. But all of these add up to only a few achievements in martial arts. Not to mention women with such strength and talent as Nangong servants, that's even rarer. And even fewer can be found here that can be famous for knives. Only the Lingnan Song aristocrats and the small buildings are famous for their magic knives that listen to rain overnight. But these people are not women either. The Nangong servant in front of me is actually a skilled female swordsman, with a shy and closed moon appearance. Why is such a stunning woman in the palace? Faced with Li Hanyi's words, the Nangong servant's gaze turned cold and said, I also didn't expect a woman in the martial arts world to cultivate to the realm of quasi-land immortals. Just, you shouldn't be so reckless in storming the palace. As soon as these words were spoken, the killing intent on Nangong's servant was even stronger. Li Hanyi glanced with beautiful eyes and didn't say much, but clenched the sword in his hand. She doesn't need to say much, nor does she need to say much. This matter cannot be resolved, only real moves can be done under our hands. At the same time, she was also slowly building up momentum in secret, and the terrifying power was quickly accumulating to its peak. Bang, bang, bang. Almost simultaneously, the two of them made a bold move. The southern palace servant launched a move, but with that domineering and unparalleled sword, he was struck with a stunning 18 stops. Li Hanyi is also making every effort. The sword in her hand has turned into an iron horse and an ice river, without knowing the timing. For a moment, heaven and earth turned pale, and 2 unbridled and overwhelming atmospheres swept across the entire venue. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 6. Peak Duel, Li Hanyi swords out on the snow moon. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The killing intent is chilling, with sword and sword light intertwined. The martial arts talent of Nangong Pushe is extremely strong. Although he was not among the 15 people in the new martial arts evaluation, he was rated as only 1 floor short. In the eyes of Wang Xianji, Jiang Axing and Hong Jingyan are the future champions of the martial arts world, while the self-created 18 stop is even more terrifying. 6 stops kill the second level, 9 stops kill the finger Xian, and 12 stops kill the celestial phenomena. 16 stops, the great Vajra of Buddhism also breaks open, and the heavenly and human bodies are like white paper. After 18 stops, there are no land immortals in front of him. If he is the first to wield a sword, he will be invincible. Even Li Chungang dare not easily block the way, and now facing Li Hanyi, the opponent's strength cannot be underestimated. She made such a stunning move. This person is bound to be left behind. Bang! Cut it out with 1 blow. Although the blade is mediocre, it contains an extremely mysterious will, and there is also a feeling of being looked down upon by the soldiers for killing. This knife also made Li Hanyi's eyes become solemn, and she felt the danger in it. Therefore, it directly used the water-stopping sword technique. With a single sword, heaven and earth moved with it, and the infinite sword intent ravaged, causing the surrounding temperature to suddenly become extremely cold. This is in conjunction with the Iron Horse Ice River, doubling its power. This sword is the most cold sword in the world, with the aura of a frost sword. Its sword power is domineering, like an iron horse breaking through a wilderness. At the same time, it was extremely fierce. At the moment when the sword was drawn and unsheathed, it seemed that both heaven and earth were being slain by it. Countless waves are divided, and the terrifying sword energy is dazzling. When it erupts, it's like an iceberg exploding. The collision of sword energy and sword energy is a terrifying force with extreme sharpness. At the moment of contact, the earth trembles and layers of air waves roll endlessly. But in a moment of confrontation, unexpectedly, the sword intent took the upper hand. Infinite Forest Han was suppressed by the instantly powerful sword intent, and Li Hanyi's face couldn't help but change slightly. At this moment, she was finally shocked by the woman in front of her. At first, she thought she had overestimated the Nangong Servant, but she didn't expect the opponent's strength to be so terrifying. At this moment, the sword and sword intentions of both sides were intertwined, and with continuous confrontation, Li Hanyi's sense of crisis became even stronger. One cut. Another blow. 6 stops. 9 stops. Every time one weight is added, the power also doubles year.On.Year, which can be considered terrifying. As the knife became more fierce, the Nangong Servant's face turned icy cold, but he became more and more brave as he fought. 18 stops. This is a move to accumulate strength. Today, even if you are a quasi-land immortal, you cannot leave under her sword. Li Hanyi's expression became even more surprised at this moment. She realized that the opponent's strength was constantly increasing, which was not good news. She constantly pondered on ways to cope, and her expression became extremely solemn. If this continues, I am afraid I will be defeated. If defeated, it means death. The Nangong Servant let out a low shout, striking out 12 stops. The power of the sword became even more intense and terrifying at this moment. Space trembles, heaven and earth change color. The sound of the air being constantly cut sounded like thunder, and each strike increased the power of the sword, making the opponent even more desperate. This is 18 stops. When the 12 stops were played, Li Hanyi's face finally couldn't calm down. At this moment, she finally knew that this was the Nangong Servant's technique of accumulating power, and the power of each technique would be stronger than before. When the power of the sword reaches a certain level, terror is something that even real land immortals dare not confront head-on. Thinking of this, Li Hanyi's beautiful eyes were cold, and she had to grit her teeth. She knew that if she continued like this, she would be unable to resist the decisive battle. This person has such means. Since that's the case. Bang! Li Hanyi made up her mind, and the sword in her hand, which exuded a chill, suddenly turned. Her temperament changed greatly, and she wielded the sword and swung it out. The terrifying power was gathering and suddenly unleashed. It was precisely by using the ultimate move that the moon sets and the flowers bloom. At this moment, countless peach blossoms suddenly appeared in the palace, but each peach blossom contained infinite killing intent. Chi gathered towards the location of Li Hanyi. This is the ultimate move. Li Hanyi, on the other hand, wants to be forceful. Since you cannot change the power of the 18 stop, then interrupt forcefully. No matter how powerful you are, it is useless if you cannot use it. Li Hanyi, it is precisely this move that aims to break through the southern palace servant and continue his power, in order to interrupt the opponent's moves. So all the strength we have accumulated on our side will start over again, and only then will we have a chance to catch our breath. At the moment when Li Hanyi vigorously swept his sword energy and swung out this stunning sword, both Qingniao and Yuexian's faces changed. This person actually hides his cards. Qingniao's eyes were very solemn, and she naturally saw that Li Hanyi had taken it seriously. The terrifying power that this move can carry is chilling. Infinite peach blossoms represent the power that Li Hanyi can mobilize. Such a sword can be called a peerless sword. Can Nangong servants really block it? It's too scary. Yuexian's face froze. Although he knew his strength was not strong enough, he always believed that as long as he improved, there would not be a big gap between him and other experts at the same level. But at this moment, with Li Hanyi's stunning sword, Yuexian was completely suppressed. At this moment, both Qingniao and Yuexian's gaze was fixed on Nangong Pushe. Both of them are also accumulating strength, and if the Nangong servants are defeated in any way, they will attack with all their might as soon as possible. Bang! 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 Li Hanyi's sword is truly stunning. However, in the face of this terrifying and despairing move, Nangong Pushe's face remained unchanged. On the contrary, full of confidence. Everything is just because the other party drew the sword late. The Nangong servant's accumulation has been completed. 16 stops. The strong wind howls. Sword energy wreaks havoc in the sky. The Nangong servant fired this knife, and the whole person rose into the air, accumulating all their strength to the extreme. These 16 come and go, and the space seems to be torn in half. The sword energy condenses to this point, and even if you are a land immortal, you cannot resist it head-on. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 7. What is the Snow Moon Sword? Immortal Li Hanyi, sword armor arrived. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. 16 stops and 1 exit. The collision with Li Hanyi's majestic sword intent, coupled with the collision of infinite chi, also made the eyes of the blue bird on one side full of surprise. This person has actually pushed by Huer to this point. Qingniao's fair face was full of shock, she couldn't believe it. She knew the strength of Nangong Pushe and understood the terror of the 18 stop. Once this move was used, it was almost unsolvable. And being able to create the 18-stop Nangong servant is truly a brilliant talent. The two were summoned by Zhu Houzhao one after another, so they engaged in private battles no less than 100 times. Therefore, Qingniao has a great understanding of the southern palace lackeys. However, basically every time they fight each other, the result is a point-to-point battle. After all, they are all our own people, making it difficult to use real killing techniques. However, the true strength of Nangong servants is well known by Qingniao. Especially with its self-created 18 stops, it is a decisive battle in the ultimate move. Once used, it represents that the Nangong servant is pushed to the extreme. Now, the 18 stops of Nangong Pushe have stacked up to 16 stops. Once further into the 18 stops. This is going to be a killer. How powerful is the power? The consequences are simply unimaginable. Just this kind of action, the power is too great. Even the land gods should avoid their sharpness. If the last 18 stops are used, the damage caused to the interior of the palace will not be as great as it is now. Thinking about this, Qingniao was also very anxious in her heart. She quickly looked at Yuetian with beautiful eyes and a focused expression, saying, "You immediately have your subordinates block this place. No one is allowed to approach. The power of the 18 stop is too great and too broad. If it's outside, it's not a big deal. Even if it causes a big disturbance, it can always be quickly evacuated and eliminated. But here, it's in the palace. But it can't continue like this anymore. Yes. I'll do it right away." Yuetian was also shocked by this scene, taking a deep breath and nodding solemnly. He also dared not show any negligence and disappeared as a lingering shadow. At this moment, Qingniao's gaze also turned to the location of the heart-nourishing hall, which was the sleeping palace with Zhu Houzhao. At this point in the battle between the two sides, there was too much commotion, and I'm afraid the one inside would also be alarmed. You should know that Zhu Houzhao keeps them low-key, and the reason goes without saying, it's to limit the exposure time. After all, the system that the feudal lords illuminated was the Godao system. As long as we survive this last month, we can completely hostile bind the system. At that time, everything can be handled calmly, and whatever you want or don't do can be freely adjusted. This is also the most important thing that Zhu Houzhao usually explains to Qingniao, Nangong Pushe, and a group of subordinates. At the same time, in the heart-nourishing hall, Zhu Houzhao is having a casual chat with Li Chungang. Boom boom boom. The sound boom of Shiba Ting was so intense that it spread to the emperor's palace. At this moment, Zhu Houzhao naturally sensed the great commotion outside. This is making a big fuss. Interesting. Zhu Houzhao also showed an expression of interest at the corner of his mouth. Listening to the sound of the fluctuating airflow outside, even at a considerable distance, it still vibrates endlessly. After some thought, his eyebrows slightly raised and he said calmly, surprisingly, he forced the Nangong Servant to use 16 stops. It seems that the strength of this unexpected guest outside should not be underestimated, but it's a bit troublesome. At this point, Zhu Houzhao's gaze turned to Li Chungang and he chuckled lightly, saying, "So, we need to trouble the old sword god to go. Too much noise is not good for Zhu Houzhao. Nature needs to be resolved as soon as possible. Within the palace, nothing beyond control is allowed to happen. Of course. This is not to say that I'm afraid the Nangong servants won't be able to solve it on their own. After all, they have already used 18 stops, and even the land gods have to kneel down today. But that would only create greater noise. Now, it is most appropriate to let Li Chungang clean up the mess. Your Majesty, rest assured that I will go now." Upon hearing this, Li Chungang gave a smile without hesitation and flew out of the main hall. In an instant, it has already disappeared and disappeared. This is to eliminate the noise outside. Who would it be? Even in this world, the strength of Nangong servants is priced. The people who come are not land gods, so who is sacred? After Li Chungang left, Zhu Houzhao suddenly stood up and turned around before leaving the main hall. She looked up at the sky, the moonlight was bright, countless forms of interplay echoed, forming a perfect Milky Way. This is a rare beauty. At this moment, Zhu Houzhao's eyes were incredibly deep, as if harboring an abyss, but his heart was filled with a bit of curiosity. He knows the complexity of this world, so even if there are any characters, he won't find anything strange. But there are very few in the current Kyushu world that can make the Nangong servants take action and even use the 18-stop technique to deal with it. But what Li Chungang said just now is actually a female doll. Therefore, his cultivation will not exceed that of land. After all, if the opponent's true strength has already reached the level of a land immortal, Yuan Tiangang will not fail to sense it. This should be a top-level master or quasi-land. It's still a woman. It's fun. It's so fun. Thinking of this, Zhu Houzhao laughed and felt very excited inside. Bang, bang, bang. The sword energy and sword energy were scorching, like a terrifying torrent that was rampant and chaotic. Within a radius of several hundred meters, they had completely transformed into a battlefield. Everywhere are shattered buildings, mercilessly cut by sword and sword energy. The ground is cracked, resulting in damage caused by sword and sword chi. Until now, both Li Hanyi and the Nangong servant have unleashed true fire and fully utilized their cultivation to the extreme. In the distance, Qingniao, Yuetian, and a group of subordinates from Xichang are all present. The people of the West Factory directly surrounded the battlefield, and no one was allowed to do anything, and no news could be spread. I can only hear the thunderous sound of sword energy exploding, the sword intent rolling like a torrent, and the will to kill and fight, as well as the martial arts will, can be considered terrifying. Hiss. The battle between these two people is too terrifying. Yuetian watched all of this and was shocked beyond measure. Only by witnessing today's battle did he know the difference between an ordinary great master and a top great master. It's good to be a Nangong servant. Still this unfamiliar unwelcome guest. Even in the same realm, there are fundamental differences. Their cultivation and skills have been fully utilized. Although it may seem like it's still at the level of a great master, the actual strength and combat power it unleashes have even reached the level of a land immortal. It may seem like there is only one point, but the difference is significant. This is the difference between immortals and mortals. It's hard to imagine how big the difference is, as no one else has truly seen it. Kill! Li Hanyi let out a coquettish shout, wielding the sword weapon in his hand. Infinite rewards of icy cold, wielding the sword spirit. Wherever you go, everything seems to be freezing into ice. It seems like turning everything into infinite ice and cold, becoming a true world of ice and snow. It's so beautiful. But even the most beautiful picture at this moment hides a terrifying killing intent. A slight mistake could turn into a corpse. Flying snow in August. Behind such a beautiful painting, there is a terrifying concentration of sword intent, and the power of sword energy continues to climb. Li Hanyi's own martial arts will has also climbed to a terrifying level. And being able to push oneself to this point. Even Li Hanyi has to admit that the stunning woman she fought against is truly stunning and definitely the super strong opponent she is looking for. But her condition is not very good. Because when I used my ultimate move, I didn't even have the intention to stop the Southern Palace Servant's attack, and my strength was still being accumulated. Once enough power has been accumulated for the Nangong Servant. The next move he plays is beyond his grasp in a decisive battle. After all, she is a quasi-land deity. But they are not real land immortals, and there is still a fundamental difference between the two. Even Li Hanyi still had an intuition in her heart. The next time the opponent's energy storage move is used, even a true land god may not be able to withstand it. She can be said to be on the line, and can only exert her strongest attack with all her might, trying to plan for the accumulation of power from the Nangong servants. At this moment, as soon as Li Hanyi's August snowfall appeared, the southern palace attendant also squinted her beautiful eyes slightly. Her seemingly weak body has now condensed a terrifying force, even the unintentional fluctuations can be surrounded by turbulent air currents and continuous sound explosions. That's it, the 18th stop. Now, the time has come. 18 stops. The Nangong servant's expression was extremely cold, with a stunning face like ice jade, and he looked at Li Hanyi with a lifeless expression. She flew up, her snow-white clothes illuminated by the moonlight and infinity, like a fairy above the 9 heavens. At this point, all you need to do is make the final 18 stops. Li Hanyi, you must die. She has completed her savings. Li Hanyi's beautiful eyes trembled slightly. Under the mask, there was a stunning face, and Bei's teeth clenched her red lips. It seems that everything is coming to an end. At this moment, a grand and reckless sword shot up into the sky, as if to cover up heaven and earth, countless formations and moonlight faded away. Li Chuangong's domineering and wanton voice rang out, saying, "That's enough. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 8. Sword Armor Attack, the Peak of Land Heaven and Man. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. That's enough. Accompanied by Li Chuangong's voice, a majestic sword spirit instantly emerged. Just the sword intent has already made Nangong Pushe and Li Hanyi feel a chilling sensation. But at this moment, both Li Hanyi and Nangong Pushe could not stop. They have truly reached a life and death battle between them. The 18 stoppings of Nangong servants are also a tactic of retreating but not advancing. How could it be easily stopped? Boom! The sword intent resurfaced, leaving Li Hanyi unable to retreat. Even if Li Chuangong's sword was unrestrained, now the southern palace servant's sword must be resisted. Li Hanyi also activated his true qi again, and his sword spirit continued to soar. And just as they were about to collide, but a figure suddenly appeared between the two. It is the figure of Li Chuangong. I saw him facing the sword intent of the two, just casually wielding a sword. Two-sleeved green snake. In an instant, there is a boundless sword intent floating between heaven and earth. It also extinguished the sword intent of the southern palace servant and Li Hanyi. It's not that the difference between Li Hanyi's swordsmanship and that of Nangong Servant and Li Chungang is so significant, as it's so easy to achieve. But rather the difference in realm. The pinnacle of strength of land beings. Enough to easily crush two people. It can also easily stop the confrontation between two people. Schwa. After the sword's intent wears off. There was only Li Chungang left in the field. Nangong Pushe and Li Hanyi both took dozens of steps back, and their gaze was not focused on each other, but on Li Chungang in the field. Especially Li Hanyi's face was extremely solemn, and his heart was filled with turmoil. Heaven and earth. Just now, Li Chungang made a full move. She had a thorough understanding of Li Chungang's realm. He is a rumored terrestrial celestial being. In this world, the land heavenly man is the most top-notch warrior. Almost, I have only heard of it in rumors. It's almost invisible on weekdays. These people, each one is an absolute powerhouse. Has the ability to burn the river and boil the sea, and destroy a city recklessly. How could a person of such a state be in the palace? How is this possible? The more Li Hanyi thinks, the more afraid she becomes. Especially with Li Chungang's sword just now, it was so exquisite that it was impeccable, able to easily dissolve two people and leave them unharmed. What kind of control was this? At this moment, Li Hanyi's heart was extremely anxious. But, unable to move at all. No. I dare not. At the same time. On the other side, the Nangong servant was filled with surprise. And Li Chungang in front of me. She knows each other. After all, just like myself, they all come from the snow world, and their name has spread throughout the world. Naturally, Nangong Pushe has also heard of it a long time ago. However, she never knew that Li Chungang had such formidable strength. Even my own 18 stops were interrupted. When it comes to stopping at 18, even the land gods will drink their hatred on the spot. But Li Chungang, on the other hand, casually resolved it while also dispelling Li Hanyi's sword energy. 18 stops, difficult to defeat Li Chungang. So, what about 19 stops? In the world of snow, she had never reached this level of cultivation, but Nangong Pushe believed that she could do it in this world. Especially with the appearance of Li Hanyi. And if he uses it 19 times, can Li Chungang block it? For a moment, the servant of Nangong was filled with a sense of war in his heart. At this moment, neither side spoke. Li Hanyi and Nangong Pushe still face each other in opposition. Li Chungang nodded with a faint smile, but there was no intention of saying more. He came here just to argue. The goal has been achieved. Step by step. At this moment. The sound of footsteps came, although dull, it seemed to overshadow all the sounds in an instant. It has to draw people's attention to it. I saw a tall figure wearing a dragon robe walking towards this place at this moment. It caught everyone's attention. Zhu Houzhao walked slowly wearing a dragon robe. A pair of eyes looked at the scene with great interest, with a faint smile on his handsome face. My lord, Xichang Yuetian pays homage to your majesty. Long live, long live. Your majesty, I am incompetent. Please punish me, your majesty. Upon seeing Zhu Houzhao appear, Yuetian's face changed greatly and he knelt down to the side, sincerely admitting his mistake. Qingniao, worship your majesty. At this moment, Qingniao also reacted and bowed to Zhu Houzhao who was walking by. Zhu Ho looked at the two people with a faint smile and waved his hand, without saying much. Even the originally aloof and proud Nangong servant only glanced coldly at Li Hanyi. Facing Zhu Houzhao, his attitude instantly became respectful. He walked over and bowed to Zhu Houzhao, saying, Nangong servant, pay respects to your majesty. Your majesty. Finally, Li Chungang walked over with a smile and a respectful expression. Bowing to Zhu Houzhao. And such a scene also stunned Li Hanyi in an instant, with her clear eyes filled with shock. Danger, very dangerous. She felt an unprecedented sense of crisis. West factory public rain transforms fields. The presence of stirring wind and rain in the palace now shows exceptional respect to the emperor. Where does this look like a eunuch or a powerful official? Also, when Qingniao, who had almost the same strength as himself, saluted the emperor, Li Hanyi's heart thumped for a moment. Not to mention the southern palace servants, Li Chungang and others bowing down one after another. Such an attitude made Li Hanyi numb on the spot. Fake. Are all the rumors outside fake? Is everything just a disguise? This Emperor Zhu Houzhao of the Ming dynasty is not a foolish ruler, but rather a very deep city government. However, this hiding is too deep. Surprisingly, he concealed the entire world. But now I know this secret. Can we still walk? At this moment, Li Hanyi's face changed drastically, and she completely understood. A pair of beautiful eyes were incredibly solemn, but at the same time, their scalp was tingling and they felt infinite despair in their hearts. At this moment, it seems that there is no vitality left. Li Hanyi's gaze was fixed on Zhu Houzhao, and his internal strength was maximized and concentrated. Subconsciously, he grasped the hilt of the sword. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 9. Peak Consort Li Hanyi, from today onwards. You are listening at novelfull.audio. They are all people of the Ming Emperor. At this moment, Li Hanyi clenched her lower lip and almost instinctively grasped the sword in her hand. She knew very well that she had discovered such a huge secret from Zhu Houzhao, and today she was completely unable to do anything good. While feeling particularly nervous inside, there is already a sense of despair spreading. But at this moment, Zhu Houzhao's expression was relaxed, but he looked at Li Hanyi with interest. At this moment, although Li Hanyi was wearing a mask and a bamboo hat, and his figure was completely hidden, all of this was like a facade for Zhu Houzhao, who was a traveler. Previously, he had thought that someone would break into the palace, but he never expected it to be this one. Now, I have even exposed my strength. The forces under Li Chungang, Qingniao, and Yuetian were all known by Li Hanyi. However, Zhu Houzhao, however, was not nervous and did not even have the idea of killing Li Hanyi. Although the system stipulates that it does not allow itself to disclose 50% of its strength, those who are discovered must be wiped out within 24 hours. And Li Hanyi has already discovered that it was necessary to kill him, but this requirement is not absolute either. It has conditions. For example, if Zhu Houzhao is willing to use the power of the system blood contract to bind with Li Hanyi, then in the future, Li Hanyi will be like the characters Zhu Houzhao has summoned before, retaining his own personality while fully obeying his commands. The emergence of Li Hanyi now gave Zhu Houzhao the idea of using the blood covenant. His ideas are also very simple. That is to use the appearance of Li Hanyi to make her one's own consort, in order to promote the court. He plans to have the court take action first. Although Zhu Houzhao signed for 5 years, his influence has never been revealed. But if Zhu marries the 3 lords of Snow Moon City as his concubine, what will happen if he ignores them? At this moment, Zhu Houzhao was eager to see their thoughts, as well as those who planned to rebel under Prince Ning. With Li Hanyi's identity, it was also enough to form a probe. Secondly, Zhu Houzhao himself also likes Li Hanyi very much. Such a stunning beauty. If not included in the harem, wouldn't it be a pity? Since I'm not planning to kill you. He naturally has no reason to let go. All thoughts are just a fleeting moment. Zhu Houzhao's profound gaze turned to Li Hanyi, who was nervous. With a faint smile on his lips, he asked, "You said, you know my big secret. How should I deal with you? And if you want to save your life, the only way is to become your own person." As soon as this statement was made, the whole audience's gaze turned to look over. Everyone is very surprised. Both the Nangong servants and Qingniao and Xichang seemed puzzled. After all, they cannot expose more than 50% of their strength. As the summoned characters, they are all very clear about it. In the eyes of these people, Zhu Houzhao's words clearly meant to be subdued. Li Hanyi was taken aback at the words, but the next moment his face under the mask turned red. What becomes one's own person? This clearly means accepting one's own concubine. Although the emperor's consort may sound of high status, her essence is still a concubine. For a moment, she was very shocked and angry in her heart. Her tone was cold and strong, and she said, "You foolish ruler, you can kill or cut, you are at your disposal." Although Li Hanyi did not expect to encounter such a scene when he arrived at the palace. However, as the Lord of Snow Moon City, she also has her own personality. Don't consider it. Or rather, are you not afraid of death? I have only one way for you to survive, and that is to submit and become my consort. There is no other choice. Upon hearing these words, Zhu Houzhao was not angry, but his tone became a bit cold. Either alive or dead. He cannot let a person who knows his strength live. No matter who it is. However, Li Hanyi is still very effective at the moment. That's also why he's still warning. Of course. As an emperor. There is no possibility of anyone refusing what he wants. The next moment. Zhu Houzhao reached out and pointed at Li Hanyi. Invisible sword energy sliced through the air. In an instant, Li Hanyi's hat and mask were torn open. At this moment. Sword energy strikes. Li Hanyi was also shocked. Immediately, I want to dodge. But suddenly, a strong and domineering aura erupted from Zhu Houzhao's body. Make the surrounding space look like a solid, even Li Hanyi cannot move. This is the terrifying cultivation of the Emperor's classic. Even as great masters, one's own strength is invincible. The terrifying pressure is enough to crush everything. Sting. I only heard a crisp sound, and Li Hanyi's hat and mask were already torn apart. In the next moment, a woman with an extremely beautiful appearance revealed her most authentic mask. Her crystal-clear eyes and fair jade-like skin seemed boneless, and coupled with her stunned demeanor at this moment, Zhu Houzhao was stunned for a moment. Sure enough, she is truly the stunning woman in the original work. Today, however, we cannot let it go no matter what. Li Hanyi, Zhu Houzhao is going to make a reservation. Meanwhile, there were also Nangong servants and Qingniao who were amazed. They looked at Li Hanyi, who was showing his true face, and couldn't help but glance at Zhu Houzhao. At this moment, they finally knew why His Majesty wanted to marry. I never thought of it. It turns out that the one who has been fighting against oneself is not a man, but a brilliant and stunning woman. Li Hanyi's appearance is unparalleled, and even calling her a shy flower with a closed moon is not an exaggeration. This is their thoughts at this moment. This girl doll is so young. There was a hint of surprise in Li Chuangang's eyes. Although he knew that Li Hanyi was a woman, he did not know her appearance. This woman. I'm afraid it's extremely rare in this world. Li Hanyi, whose mask had been broken, showed panic on her face, but at this moment she had lost her cover. No matter how angry she was, it was obviously useless. I can only look at Zhu Houzhao with angry eyes. But suddenly, she had a reaction. It seems that it was Zhu Houzhao who made the move just now. The strength of this Ming emperor is even stronger than himself. At this moment, Li Hanyi looked at Zhu Houzhao with a strong sense of disbelief in his eyes. I seem to have discovered another bigger secret. Today, I'm afraid I can't leave anymore. Are you going to die here today? Or submit to the proposal of the other party's submission? What is your choice? Zhu Houzhao walked slowly forward with a gentle tone. I don't know when I have an extra contract shining with blood in my hand. It's the blood contract from the system. As long as Li Hanyi signs the blood qi contract, he will become a character like Nangong Servant and Qingniao, whose essence is no different from the characters summoned by the system. It's just a direct contract in this world. At this moment, Li Hanyi heard these words and did not speak, but her heart was constantly thinking about countermeasures. However, Zhu Houzhao didn't pay any attention to these things. He held a blood contract in his hand and said at that time, "If you sign this contract, you are your true self, and you can avoid death. You can never betray me forever." Even when signing the contract, Zhu Houzhao explained the effects of it all. If Li Hanyi really chooses to die, so he wouldn't feel regretful either. I will directly send the other party home. Contract. Is there anything like this? Upon hearing Zhu Houzhao's explanation, Li Hanyi's face was full of disbelief. She couldn't believe that there was such a magical thing in the world. This can't be fabricated by Zhu Houzhao. All of this is said to make oneself believe and submit to him. Thinking of this, she suddenly came up with an additional solution. Since Zhu Houzhao believes so much in this contract, why bother signing it himself? Even after signing the contract, you can find an opportunity to escape in the future. Being able to live, Li Hanyi naturally does not want to die. Of course, she won't speak recklessly, just to save her life. Your Majesty wants to marry me. Aren't you afraid of me pretending to agree? These words made Li Hanyi feel unbelievable, without even investigating the reason. After all, why is the other person so confident when they can't even tell their gender in the clothes they're wearing today? Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 10. The second Lord of Snow Moon City is unexpectedly a stunning beauty. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Fake promise. Interesting. As soon as Li Hanyi said this, Zhu Houzhao couldn't help but laugh and said, "Once I say this, it is a decree, and naturally I will not retract it." However, as the second Lord of Snow Moon City in one of the 5 major sword immortals in the world, Snow Moon Sword Immortal, you wouldn't lack this courage, would you? A blood contract from the system, once signed, there is no possibility of regret at all. Moreover, Li Hanyi's personality is well understood by Zhu Houzhao. Once you decide to sign the contract, you won't back out. Therefore, he has no worries at all. Although marrying Li Hanyi was a last-minute idea. But to some extent, it coincides with Zhu Houzhao's original plan by chance. Even if it can accelerate Zhu Houzhao's plan. That is to develop the Ming dynasty, infinitely expanding its power while continuously releasing its influence to the outside world. Finally, take down the neighboring countries one by one. All of them will be included in the territory of the Ming dynasty. Snow Moon City Lord, Li Hanyi. This statement also publicly revealed Li Hanyi's identity. Whether it was Qingniao or Nangong Servant, Li Chungang, or Yuetian, they were all stunned upon hearing this. No matter how many people thought, the stunning woman in front of them was the second Lord of Snow Moon City. No wonder this person's strength is so strong. A hint of relief appeared on Qingniao's face. She thought it was her own lack of strength, but she never expected to encounter this sword immortal. It doesn't seem shameful to be defeated. This leader is also ranked high in this world. The true powerhouse. I didn't expect it to be a woman. Surprise everyone's expectations. Li Hanyi. The Nangong servant's beautiful eyes were slightly condensed, and he was also somewhat surprised in his heart. She said, which strong person would have such strength? Surprisingly able to catch my 16 stops. This is not something that any ordinary great master can do. I even forced myself to use 18 stops. But if it's this one, it seems reasonable. At this moment, everyone suddenly understood the profound meaning of Zhu Houzhao's move. If Zhu Houzhao marries this second Lord of Snow Moon City, in the future, the relationship with Snow Moon City will also be infinitely closer. Even bringing Snow Moon City as a whole into the ranks of the Ming dynasty is not impossible. And the location of Xueyue City is within the scope of the Tang dynasty. When you know, all countries coexist in this world. The Tang dynasty, Ming dynasty, Qin dynasty, Yuan dynasty, and other small kingdoms stand side by side. Zhu Houzhao did these things to prepare for the expansion of the Ming dynasty in the future. And now, there is still 1 month left until the end of Zhu Houzhao's hiding. You can already start conquering the world in advance and extend the power of the Ming dynasty, but Snow Moon City is the best breakthrough point. The matter of marrying Li Hanyi can also serve as a beginning and a test for the entire Ming dynasty and the world. You know me. How could that be? Li Hanyi was stunned. A pair of beautiful eyes looked at Zhu Houzhao, but they never expected that the other party would directly see through their identity. Even Zhu Houzhao seems to have a fairly deep understanding of himself. It seems that the Snow Moon City behind him has been investigated in advance by Zhu Houzhao. Thinking of this, Li Hanyi's face also became solemn. She thought she had overestimated this Ming emperor. Now it seems that it is far from enough, even underestimated. Zhu Houzhao, even deeper than imagined. What kind of foolish ruler is this? It's just pretending to be a pig and eating a tiger, no, accompanying a dragon and eating a tiger. What exactly does he want when he hides so deep? Li Hanyi couldn't figure it out and had no idea what Zhu Houzhao was planning to do. This person's idea is probably beyond everyone's imagination. The more he thought about it, the more Li Hanyi felt that the Ming emperor's plan was significant, and he fell silent for a moment. This is your chance to survive, and also the only chance I have given you. After signing the blood covenant, you will come and go freely. I will not punish you for the crime of attacking the palace at night. The method of using the blood contract is very simple. Drop the Jing blood from your fingertips and the contract will be completed. Zhu Houzhao spoke lightly and then handed the blood covenant to Qingniao. Yes, Your Majesty. Qingniao nodded and went straight to the side of Li Hanyi, who had a smiling face, offering the blood covenant. As long as Li Hanyi signs this contract, he will be his own person from now on. Okay, I'll sign it. Li Hanyi took the blood contract and looked at the mysterious pattern on it, causing her eyebrows to furrow slightly. However, at this point, she no longer had any extra options. As a price for breaking into the palace at night, I have to admit defeat myself. Speaking, Li Hanyi placed the green onion and jade finger on the edge of the shell teeth, and then took a bite, and blood dripped onto the contract on the spot. The next moment, the contract turned into ashes on the spot. And upon seeing this scene, Li Hanyi was stunned on the spot. Because there is a lot of information conveyed by the system in her mind at this moment. This includes information on the role of contracts and the basic pattern of the world. Including Zhu Houzhao as the resident party of the contract, possessing the power of life and death. Even the power emanating from the contract began at the moment of signing, constantly increasing Li Hanyi's loyalty to Zhu Houzhao. At this moment, Li Hanyi directly transformed into a state similar to that of Qingniao and Li Chungang. Although one's own personality is not affected. But his loyalty to Zhu Houzhao reached 100%. There is no possibility of betrayal at all. Very good. Zhu Houzhao smiled and nodded, saying nothing more to Li Hanyi. From the moment the contract is signed, everything is self-evident. At this moment, Zhu Houzhao looked directly at Yuexian and ordered, Yuexian, immediately spread the news of my marriage to Li Hanyi, the resident of Xueyue City. Also, the wedding date will be set at the peak of the Forbidden City 1 month later. Announce this matter and then announce the date. And the date of the decisive battle between Gucheng and Ximen Chuixue is the same. Among them, Zhu Houzhao has his own plan. This is a first move. It's also the beginning of my own conquest of the world. Yes, Your Majesty. Yuexian knelt on the ground and solemnly took the decree. Zhu Houzhao nodded slightly, then turned his gaze to Qingniao and ordered with a smile, Li Hanyi will be left to you to arrange and take care of her living in the palace. Yes, your majesty, rest assured. Qingniao smiled and immediately received the order. Soon, Li Hanyi and others were taken down by Qingniao. Not long after, Li Chungang and the Nangong servants also left. On sight, there was only Zhu Houzhao left. At this moment, his eyes were as deep as an abyss, as if the whole world had been revealed to him for a moment. He murmured, I will take down the Tang dynasty, the Qin dynasty, the Han dynasty, the Sui dynasty, the Song dynasty, and those countless small countries one by one. This day will not be too long. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th.